Good morning, viewers around the world. My name is Mark Godwin Iweajunwa, and I'm sitting in for my colleague, big brother and friend, Dr. Segun Johnson, on this very special occasion of our news program. On the 6th of October, you are welcome to News Echoes World Affairs. News Echo World Affairs is where we give updates on global news as it affects both Nigerians and Africans all over the world. So you are welcome. You are welcome. Normally, I have my coordinators from different parts of the continent. Hope they will join us. But before then, let's run through some news headline today, 6th of October, 2023. What's making the news around the world? In the United States, the President Biden says he's going to build more Mexico walls. He said his hands are tied, and this is the same Biden, 2023, said he pledged that he will abandon that plan of the Republicans, and he will not build any more of the wall between Mexico and America. But as of this morning, United States President George Biden defended the Republican plan and said he's extending more border walls with Mexico. He says he thinks that he doesn't think that such barrier will work, but he was bound by the law introduced under Donald Trump's government. So that's right there in America. In our country, Nigeria, there are not too good news. There's this communal clash going on in a state called Osun State, southwest of Nigeria. Osun State is having this communal clash and is escalating every day. So as of this morning, the government has called for peace, and we hope peace will be. Security operatives, including the police, the army, civil defense, all have been drafted into these areas to forestall any further breakdown of law and order in Osun State, southwest Nigeria. Also this morning in the news headline in Nigeria, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, that's Peter Obi, has, in response to an appeal by his the PDP party, that's People's Democratic Party's counterpart, Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi has responded to Atiku Abubakar that was asking him to join in a legal battle to challenge the presidency of Tinubu's credential issues. So this morning, Labour Party Peter Obi has said that he won't be joining that challenge. Rather, he's focused on reclaiming his own stolen mandate at the Supreme Court. And as you all know, PDP Atiku is doing all he can to see that the false document, like he claimed, allegedly false document that APC Tinubu used during the presidential election be brought to light and be challenged. So that's the news there. It just came in while we were coming to the studio. Before I go into more of today's headline, George is joining us from Toronto, Canada. George Chuku, good morning, sir. You are welcome.
Good morning, Godwin. How are you? I hope all is well. And good morning, viewers from around the world. Thank you for joining us today. It's going to be a fantastic one.
Nice. You're welcome. So I was all alone in the studio, and we're going through today's newspaper headlines. Also, one of the news headlines this morning is something not too pleasant again. In Benue is not central of Nigeria, Benue State. The Benue State government this morning is calling on the federal government to help 1.5 million of its citizens that have been displaced as a result of bandits and terrorist attack in Benue State. So the Benue State government is calling on the federal government to help these residents get back their life, get back to their homes, and also get back to what they do very well in that part of Nigeria, and that is farming. So it's a sad thing that we're having bandits stop people from producing crops, food crops that helps to feed the nation. So that's another news coming there from the newspaper headline. A nice one for those that love the fast food. Burger King, we all know the global business called Burger King. They do confectionaries, snacks, and all that. Burger King just launched its branch in Ikeja, Lagos. That's southwest of Nigeria. Burger King is right there with you guys. Those of you that like the French fries, the burger, the meat pie, and all this stuff. So Burger King is in Nigeria, in Ikeja, GRA. George, did you hear some of the headlines? What will you say? Biden is trying to build more Mexico walls. Communal clashes in Osun State, Nigeria. Peter Obi responding to PDP that he can't join them in the challenge over Atiku's over Tinubu's documents. What are your thoughts on some of these headlines, George?
Well, first of all, let's talk about north of me here in my zone about the walls being built. It is a practical thing. I think if you can win them, you join them, is what I can see here. Ever since when they were fighting against Trump's plan to build a wall, they were making fun of him. And today, because of what is happening around the world, and because of the movement, and many third world countries are in dire need of help, and the people are running away. So I guess maybe that's bringing Biden back to reality of this war. But the point is, whether they build a wall or not, Mexicans will always find a way to cross over. So yeah, but some of us have to be politically correct in our assertions and what we want to do. That's what it is.
Okay, while we're trying to be politically correct, let's welcome Dr. Godwin Ibe. Dr. Godwin Ibe from Russia.
Yeah, Dr. Ibe is here.
Where have you been?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I also want to thank our fantastic viewers for tuning in, for watching. It's a great opportunity to add to the discourse, the public discourse on matters that are relevant.
Let me just bring you up to speed. There were so many things that happened, so many things you were doing in your area, and they were accusing me of not being there to counter you, to bring the North American taste, into the whole entire thing. I said, let's get Dr. Ibe just right on, we're with him.
Okay, gentlemen, yes, like Dr. Ibe said, we have some very good viewership running with us now, because situations are really getting very hot in Nigeria and around the world. So that was the headlines for today. We're going to go into our major discussions. I hope you guys are ready to tackle some of the issues. But before we go on, let me say this as a network. Number one thing I want to say, considering what is happening in Nigeria presently, our president's CSU certificate issue, let me say this to our viewers. Number one thing is Nigerians don't forge certificates. Let the world know this. Nigerians are not certificate forgers. It's just something that's happening. We are still trying to know what that is. Also, one thing that should be put out to the public, as you're all listening to me, viewers, is that the Yoruba, the southwest of Nigeria, don't also forge certificates. Now, why I'm saying this is there's this narrative going on now that Yorubas are certificate forgers, Nigerians are certificate forgers. Please, viewers, please, people around the world, we are not. Yorubas are not certificate forgers. Yorubas, in fact, the southwest Nigeria, the Yorubas are one group of people that have a high level. I mean, we have a higher percentage of intellectuals, intelligent academicians, well-sound, witted individuals. So we don't forge certificates. Nigerians don't forge certificates. So take note of that. Also, something that should be put out there is to let the world also know that, yes, there is something going on with our presidency, but it is an issue that can be settled. And obviously not far from now, we probably will settle those issues. So, gentlemen, let's come to the discussion. We all know what is going on. Atiku is on Tinubu's CSU certificate issue. He's saying a lot of things. This morning, one of the things he now has said is that what he's doing is for the benefit of Nigeria as a country. And he said also that Nigeria is bigger than anybody, that the reputation of our country is at stake at the moment with this whole certificate issue. He said also that everybody should way behind him and see that we get solace, we settle this issue. Gentlemen, let me start with you, George. How do you see all of this, considering the fact that Atiku himself has, he has his own, and what do you say, George?
Well, the only thing I can say is that we as a nation have been brought down to our knees. The point is we are incapable of telling the truth anymore. So we find the Supreme Court cannot be trusted to tell the truth. And Nigerians as a whole are beginning to learn how to be able to twist the truth and make falsehood to be truth. The fact is that Tinubu forged his certificate is what is in question. We pursued this for for a long time, where Atiku, everybody is saying one thing or the other. And then all of a sudden it came down to when the university finally released the certificate, it was actually alleged and proven that indeed what Tinubu submitted to INEC was false, was a forged one. Clear. And that was what Atiku was pursuing. That for the fact that he submitted a forged certificate, that disqualifies him from running for the office of the president. But we have gone into the place where we are saying, well, you see, it's already over because he actually attended the university. That has never been in question. Whether he attended the university or not is not the question there. The question is, did he forge his certificate? Did he submit a forged certificate to INEC? Yes. All of a sudden, we hear people from the news, even the newscasters these days, from all these news organizations in Nigeria. They're just bending the rules and twisting the truth. Oh, he went to the school. They say that he went to the school from 77 to 79. That should end the matter. That is not the end of the matter. Whether he went to school there or not has never been the question. Did he submit a forged certificate to INEC in 1999, 1982, and then currently? Everything, single thing that he was saying that he did he do it? If he submitted a forged certificate, that disqualifies him. Now, regarding P2B saying that he is not going to join Atiku, number one is Atiku willing, if Tinubu steps down today, to return the presidency to the South? That is giving it back to P2B. Because there is a rotational system going on in Nigeria, which the North, whenever it comes down to them, will try to destroy and say it doesn't matter anymore. The truth of the matter, Atiku is from the North. And therefore, the presidency must come to the South. So will Atiku be willing, if the president steps down tomorrow, to now call Obi and say, it is your turn. Emila Khan, is your turn. Go to the presidency. Because in 2015, when Jonathan wanted to run for another 4 years, after 6 years, that was promised the North, they said that the blood of baboon will flow the streets. And they called forth international help. And the presidency was returned to the South, to the North again. Will Atiku be willing, if he wins this case, to say, I know that it is no longer the turn of the North, therefore Obi, take over? That is one major question. And if that is the case, yes, Obi will join. If not, Obi will not join because he's in the Supreme Court. That's what he said.
Thank you very much, George. George, you put that very loud, clear, and straightforward. Dr. Ibe, it's a dire situation. One of the statements Atiku made yesterday in the conference was, people look up to us to respect the rules and defend them. He's talking about leaders and politicians in Nigeria. And we know that of a truth, Atiku has his own issues. But I am looking at it from one angle also. I'm looking at it that now it looks as if Nigeria is beginning to get it in terms of opposition, party opposing each other, trying to outwit each other, trying to challenge each other, which helps democracy somehow, because what we've had before is everybody just follows the trail. But now we are seeing Atiku that probably would have gone to Dubai and just forgot about this election this time and come back again when it's next time. Now he's pulling it through, going all the way. Is this not healthy for our democracy, Dr. Godwin? Is this not good that we're having oppositions, people challenging and going back and forth?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Usually, I don't like to intervene in issues that I'm not sure or setting up. I didn't see the. I'm not competent enough to know if it was forged because I don't know how the original one looks like. But what I saw from the released court statement by what's shared around was that they admit that what was submitted to INEC was not the real one. And then I was waiting to hear the rebuttal by the Tinubu camp to see how they defend that statement. And what I read was quite shocking. Someone who is actually pro Tinubu wrote that the certificate intended to INEC is a ceremonial replacement certificate. I have never come across this before. Is there something like a ceremonial replacement certificate issued by third-party vendors? I've never heard of this before. Do you know of any university where third-party vendors issue a replacement certificate? America, George Chuku in Canada, do they do that? Do they issue third-party?
No, they don't.
Vendors, third-party vendors, ceremonial replacement. I've never heard of this. So, what I can say is that I'm not competent enough to differentiate a real and a fake. Well, I don't know. I've never seen the real one to differentiate from the fake. But what I know is that the position put forward by the Tinubu camp is very weak because I have never seen any university that allows third party to issue ceremonial replacement certificate. And if that be the case, then it means that it's highly plausible that a forged certificate was presented, and that doesn't tell very good about the Tinubu's camp and position. So I've tried to be as objective as possible without saying what I do not know. But I've told you exactly what I know, and it's highly plausible that it's a forged certificate, and that does not bode very well for both the camp and for the image of our country.
Yeah, but just to just go with what you're saying, Dr. Ibe, the truth of the matter is that yes, there are so many things going on in the social media. There are so many angles of this particular story, but the fact is, what he presented, the university itself said they cannot authenticate it because it did not come from them. So the allegation now is that Tinubu did not want to go to the university, therefore he made up his own that was a lookalike and then presented to INEC because it could have cost, it would have been like maybe about $26 or $36 to order one from the university. But the reasons best known to him and his camp, they did not do that. Therefore, they did a duplicate, what looks like the certificate. So if you look at both of them, because the university itself presented several types of certificates that was actually given in that particular year, and none of them looked like the one that was given to Tinubu. And then also, even if there was another time when the university, maybe a few years after, decided to change the look of it, is still they could not authenticate that what was presented. So that is very clear. And the question now is not whether he went to university, because that's the argument a lot of people are making. Yeah, he went to university, but the Constitution is saying that if you present a forged certificate, it disqualifies you. Therefore, you see a lot of news people now going into all of this. Even at Rise News, I was so surprised. Ruben Abati was out there, trying to argue the obvious. When he attended the university, therefore the university swore an oath that he was there, and even swore to the point that the person who was defending Tinubu that went to the same school at the same time was true. That's not the question. The question was, the certificate you submitted, was it forged? And if it's proven that it is forged, it disqualifies you according to the Nigerian Constitution. So that's what we need to, put our weight on, because, sometimes we run around, sometimes beat around the bush, and we lose focus of what is really being asked for. And that's our country for you in today's world.
Wow, George, I must say that you just nailed it. This is it. You gave the focal point on this whole thing. I was going to also say what you said, that people are just beating around the bush, saying a lot of things and getting the whole argument in various facets. But you see, what you just said now, I wish Nigerians will hear this and understand what should be the argument, what we should stand on. The man submitted a forged document to INEC, and that alone is a crime. That's a crime. It's in the Constitution. It's everywhere. In fact, globally, universally, it's a crime. You don't submit a forged document to any organization or anybody or any country or any institution. So thank you very much, Sir George. I think we'll make this go viral. We will streamline this, cut it, and make people hear this.
It's also it's also important to add that a lot of people tend to be focused too much on Tinubu. What about INEC? Didn't INEC accept it? Did INEC verify?
Okay, that's a good one again.
It's also INEC responsibility to verify. One could argue that if INEC authenticated it before the election, why should INEC now reject it after the elections? So the responsibility also, it's not just on the presenter of the certificate, but also the receiver to authenticate it and make sure that they have or the people who are candidates or to represent the highest office of the country truly merit those, meets the requirements to be there.
In answer to that, Dr. Ibe, you are in a country that represents, factual situations, though that, every country have their own deviations in pursuing truth and fact. The point about this is this, and the question we have to ask ourselves is, can anything good come out of Nigerian judicial system? Can anything good come out of INEC? Because, from what we are seeing, we see rules and laws being bended over. When you see truth glaring you, it is white, you call it black because of technicality. That's what we are seeing in Nigerian judicial system. And let me tell you something that is happening today. Because of the technology, and people are just so into grabbing facts and truth, from different areas and all that kind of stuff. Nigeria is coming to that point today where, we started this newscast where Mark Godwin was talking about Nigerians do not forge certificates, Yorubas do not forge certificates because maybe people are accusing. But it's just a bunch of small bad apples that are spoiling the image of the whole entire nation. And now it's coming from the head, where the world is looking at the truth and nobody is able to authenticate and say the truth like it's supposed to be said. And that's what's bringing bad image to us. Look at you today, a medical doctor in Russia, well-respected medical doctor. But because of the news that is happening now, somebody might look at you and say something like, give them opportunity to start questioning. Did you really go to school?
It's okay. Thank you very much, Sir George. You guys have really put this well. Thank you. I'm impressed. And we have a viewer that has clicked like also for all you're saying. Thank you. Let's move on. There are so many things happening. Let's move on, guys. Right in not too far from me, Dr. Shegun's zone, the UK, we had a situation that is causing a lot of controversy now. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, said, a man is a man, a woman is a woman, and that's just common sense. Guys, that was the Prime Minister of UK, and UK is known to be like the hotspot of this whole crazy thing that is happening now, where they are twisting everything, bringing up all kinds of binaries and genders and all crazy. Let's hear our man. Let's hear him say this.
Also shouldn't be controversial for parents to know what their children are being taught in school about relationships. Patients should know when hospitals are talking about men or women.
Is it playing?
And we shouldn't get bullied.
Thank you.
And we shouldn't get bullied into believing that people can be any sex they want to be. They can't. A man is a man and a woman is a woman. That's just common sense.
Hello.
Common sense indeed.
Common sense.
Okay.
Can I? Yes.
Go ahead. I want us to talk about this because it's becoming an issue. And if we don't begin to say some of these things, our children are coming up. Sir George's grandchildren are coming up, and they will begin to think human beings have different kinds of gender and all that. So let me start with Dr. Godwin. Dr. Godwin, Rishi Sunak has said this. What is your take?
You know, I usually don't watch a lot of speeches by Rishi Sunak, to be quite frank. But after this speech, I think I will take more interest in his public speeches, because I appreciate people who are not bullied by the mob of the minority mob, who just seem to be more active and seem to want to shut down everybody everywhere because they don't want to conform to their mind or way of thinking. Now, straight to the point, I respect everybody, whether you identify as a dog, a cat, or as a nobody, it doesn't matter. I appreciate your ability and your right to identify who you are with whoever you want to be with. But in terms of sexes, we have only two, male and female, and Rishi Sunak could not be more factual or correct. Every other deviation, so every other identity, well, I have nothing against it. I respect them, and I believe everyone should identify with whoever they want to identify with. But when we speak about science, we speak about biology, we know who a woman is. A woman has XX chromosome. A woman has a womb, most probably, and where a womb doesn't exist is termed a genetic defect, or it has been removed surgically. A woman has a very high probability of bearing a child and giving birth. That does not mean that it is impossible to find an infertile woman, but this is a deviation from the norm, and we do not use exclusions to make a rule, because we understand that rules have exceptions. There could be abnormalities, there could be sicknesses, there could even be surgical operations that has made that impossible, or environmental factors. But generally, when we speak of who a woman is not a person who calls himself a woman. A woman is a human being that has the XX chromosome, has a womb, can get pregnant, and can deliver. And this is generally what we term a woman. It is not questionable. It is not debatable. It is not murky. It is not voluntary. You don't get to choose it. You just get to be it. Similarly, with the other gender, is a man.
Can I ask a question before we go?
George, go ahead. Yes, before we go on the break.
Dr. Ibe, as a scientist, okay, and an intelligent one for that matter, and you do a lot of research. If a skeletal remains are found, like it's like 5,000 years or 3,000 years, genetically, when it is tested, if he's a male, can he tell? Can he show that it is a male? And genetically, if he's a female, can it be said that he's a female, right?
Obviously.
So
We can get the DNA fragment, yes.
The DNA, both male and female, like what you just said, XX chromosome and YX chromosome, whatever the case might be. You see, that's exactly what we're coming to in this particular world. And that's what Rishi Sunak is, are saying. Listen, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. You cannot deny the fact. Just because I choose to call myself a cat does not make me a cat. My DNA cannot show that I'm a cat, right? It would still show that I'm a male man, right? Okay, so let's just, allow the truth to stand on its own ground, on the 2 feet of it. Because the problem we have today is we are being bullied. We are being manipulated into accepting what is false and what is not true. Black is becoming white and white is becoming black. And this is where I stand. I love everybody. I love whoever your choice is. Please, for goodness sake, don't kill me and force me to accept what it is not.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you, George. George, we'll go on a small break. That was the closing speech at the 2023 Conservative Party conference on Wednesday. Yes. So he has put it out, and I don't think there's anything to add or subtract out of that. So, but let's go on a short break, George. When we come back, we are looking into some other issues, and we hope you are with us. Thank you.
A year ago, I wrote a book titled The Final Solution, and I was trying to say to the rest of the world that there are challenges ahead. Now, a prophecy did come, and that prophecy is coming to pass. But I'm telling you, the final solution has been found many years ago in the Bible, because the Bible simply says righteousness exalts a nation and sin is a reproach to the people. So I want you to know that we can get solutions to problems in Ukraine, in Russia, in Nigeria, indeed all parts of the world. We need that solution, and the solution is straightforward. Please get a copy of my book. It's the Final Solution by Bishop Shegun Johnson, and you can find it in Kindle, in Amazon. Just type Bishop Shegun Johnson, The Final Solution. It will come. It's very, very small book you can read within 2 hours, but it contains the final solution. Do get a copy. Not getting it is doing disservice to humanity. Don't forget The Final Solution.
Hi there, I'm Mary Keurig, and I am a businesswoman in the United States, but I'm also the Global Content Vice President for the Sub-Saharan Open University in Nigeria. I could not be prouder to work with Dr. Osita Anamika and his team on helping to create not just entrepreneurs and skill-based talent that will get out into the workforce and make a living for themselves, but also young leaders. And to that end, with this integrity-rich university environment that's accredited now, and it's just an amazing opportunity for anyone there of any age to jump on board and learn, we want to let you know about a new offering that we have. We have a global governance and diplomacy course now provided by a whole team of people that crosses several countries to put together these resources and lots of great information for those of you who might be on the path toward public service and diplomatic service, NGO leadership, that sort of thing. We hope that you will walk through this open door and enjoy.
You are welcome back to SSM Schengen Story Media News Echoes today. World Affairs. Gentlemen, I hope you're there. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sure, we can hear you.
Yes, George.
Yes.
Far away, Ethiopia is on the news now. Far away, Ethiopia. The Senate is Nigerian Senate is set to investigate a very ugly situation going on there. About 250 Nigerians in Ethiopia are being held in prisons that are not conducive for human condition. There's a prison called Kaliti prison. It's a maximum security prison in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And what we found out is the inmates there are dying. And a lot of them are falling and screaming that the flag government should come, Nigerian government should come to their aid.
I can hardly
Gentlemen,
hear you.
what
There's
do
some
you know
technical
about
issues going on.
Ethiopia and the prison in
I can't hear you.
Mark, there's a technical issue with your microphone. Could you
Yes.
get it
Can you
together?
hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you
Say a
hear me
little-
now?
Okay, it's a little better.
Okay. I was talking about Ethiopia. I said yesterday in the House, the Senate, the Senate is saying that they are going to investigate the situation of 250 Nigerians in Ethiopia that are held in a prison, that the conditions are really appalling. The inmates are pleading and calling on the federal government to come and help them. George, what do you have on that?
Well, I can't say much about that because I'm not quite sure what crimes did they commit. Were they just picked up ordinarily on the streets and then jailed? Were they picked up because they committed a crime in the country? That's another thing. What type of crime did they commit? And the prison where they are, does it line up with the kind of crime that they committed? The fact is that if it's a deplorable place, I don't know what we can expect from a place like Ethiopia, as in their prisons. It's like somebody complaining that they are in Kirikiri, Nigeria. So and they're saying this place is deplorable, and we don't know what to do. So I really can't comment much about that until I find some facts regarding why are they jailed. It's just almost like if you go to Singapore today, and then they're trying to kill the person who they found guilty or carried drugs on them. This is the law of the nation. So I'm not quite sure the reason why most of these Nigerians are in Ethiopian prison and what the conditions are. And if that is the case, is there going to be an exchange? Will Nigeria now bring these 250 people and bring them back to Nigerian prison? Is it better in Nigeria?
Is it better in Nigeria? Thank you, George. Dr. Godwin, one thing we know is most times Nigerians, we're not saying this situation is okay, but most times they go to a place and they don't conform to situations and behavior in that location they find themselves. I know I've been around some European countries, and I hear what Nigerians do, and sometimes I'm not happy with their way of doing things. So, but what will you say about this? In Ethiopia, 250 Nigerians are stuck up in a prison called Kaliti. Kaliti prison is a maximum security prison in Addis Ababa. And, what will you say, Dr. Godwin?
Yeah, I would say it's very, very sad to see so many people, especially Nigerians, in a maximum security prison. Like Sir George said, I don't know why they are there, but those are not the places that we want to see Nigerians, especially diasporans who are supposed to be diasporans, instead of being in the high echelon or middle echelon of the society, but rather in maximum security prisons. I would like to remind the Ethiopian authorities that they are still human beings. They might have committed a crime, but they have not been devolved their human rights. And so they have to be treated with dignity, even prisoners of war, soldiers who are fighting in Ukraine. Ukrainians who are fighting and are captured by Russia. They are treated much, better than what I'm hearing. They are fair. There are prisoner exchanges going on from time to time, and return back to their families in one piece. And these are countries that are fighting against each other. Not to talk of countries that are not fighting against each other, that are in one continent, together in African Union. I think if it's true what I hear about their treatment, then it's very disgraceful and a violation of their human rights. And they are still human beings. They might have committed crime, and they should be accorded the same fair treatment that every prisoner is supposed to receive, and a chance to argue out their case in court and be represented by a competent lawyer. Besides that, it's one of the reasons why Nigerians are in such difficult position is because of the situation back at home. If there are jobs at home, if the economy is good, many people won't be even traveling out. There wouldn't be so many diasporans in the first place. Not to talk of those who will be committing crimes. I will give you an example. A lot of people argue that one of the reasons why so many Nigerians are there is because we're just simply too much. 1 in every 4 Black person is a Nigerian. This is very, very true. So just by that sheer increase in size of the country and representative of the Black race, you are most likely, there's a high chance that any Black person you see in prison, one of them will be a Nigerian. That is true, but I also like to argue that we don't also find so many Indians in prisons, even though they are over 1 billion. So many of the situations have to do with what is back at home, how much of a migration risk we are, and how much of competence of the diplomatic missions who are supposed to go there and not just only eat government money, but really actually do some work, establish some contact with the local authorities, and try to fight for the rights of their citizens and make their life much more easier, and try to establish a quid pro quo relationship, reminding them of Ethiopian authorities of what they stand to gain if they treat Nigerian citizens well and if they conduct good business with Nigeria. These are their main work of the diplomatic mission. So if they're actually doing their work, we'll be hearing less of social media diplomats and more from the official diplomats of how they're actually representing the interests of Nigeria. I think that's
wow, that was excellently said.
Very well said. Very well said.
Yes,
Very well said. But you know what? To back him up, I love what you were saying about it is the condition of the welfare in Nigeria that is causing this japa situation, that people are running away because they are in a desperate state. Can you imagine? I have a medical doctor who finished and practiced in Nigeria for many years and came down here and subjugated to a place where it's really psychologically, emotionally, and otherwise most of them are not able to grasp with the reality they are facing in a foreign country. You have to do a job of people that you used to hire, and people that you used to hire, are now your bosses, because with all your years of effort and everything, if the country is the way it's supposed to be economically, politically, and otherwise, nobody wants to leave Nigeria. Nigeria is the best country in the world to me. And that's the problem we have today. That's why you see a lot of them, they go out there, they might be educated, but they have to survive. And then some of them will end up in prison and being treated like animals.
Well, added to this, like you all are saying, we need to let our brothers, those of us in diaspora, we need to tell our people to comport themselves wherever they find themselves. Let's keep the good side of us shining and not getting into trouble. Like Godwin said, we are not more than the Chinese. We're not more than the Indians. We're not even more than the, I think, Singapore and some of the Malaysia and some of these other countries. And they are all over too, but they are not getting into crime the way we are getting into crime. So our people should hear this. We are from the diaspora too. We've lived up all those situations. It's not easy being a Nigerian diaspora in the West, in Russia, in Canada, in Europe. you're up on your feet every point in time. You know, you have to look out every time you're on the guard. So please, our brothers and sisters, wherever you are, in India, in Ethiopia, South Africa, wherever, let's put out our good side. We all have that good side in us. Thank you, gentlemen. You did so well on this.
Thank you. Can I say something?
Okay, I wanted us to move on because there's still
yes, actually, I wanted us to move on to something quite interesting. You know, the Valdai Discussion Club, which holds in held in Moscow yesterday, it's a think tank, a very famous think tank and discussion forum, which Putin was present, held in Sochi. It's being televised around the world. There are articles all over, even Western media, routers, everywhere about Valdai discussion. So I wanted to mention some of the highlights of Putin's speech, if I'm giving the audience.
All right, go ahead. Let's hear you, brother. Let's hear you.
Okay, so some questions. He made a lot of long speech, but I just got out the main points. The main points that Putin made in that speech. Number one, on Ukraine joining the NATO alliance, he said, "We have always been against this, and our position has a serious basis because NATO expanding to our borders directly threatens our security. NATO is, in fact, first and foremost a tool of US foreign policy." Then, on cooperation with China, he said, "We will expand our interaction with China in the security sphere. We are not creating any blocks against anyone, but we are forced to react to what is happening around our states." Concerning the G20, or Group of 20 forum, he says, "The G20 was once created as a platform for discussing economic rather than political issues. Politicization of the G20 is simply a sure path to its self-liquidation." On nuclear doctrine, he said, "Should we change? Why? There is no situation today in which the existence of the Russian state would be under threat." On nuclear weapons testing, he said, he was not ready to declare that Russia needed to resume nuclear weapons testing, but that theoretically we could revoke ratification of the International Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. Theoretically. On UN reform, he said, "Of course, these countries must be represented in the UN Security Council that are acquiring great significance in international affairs due to their sheer power, can and do influence the way key in international issues are decided." On Canadian parliamentary speaker honoring a Nazi in parliament, he said he essentially lumped together Nazi. This is what Putin said. He essentially lumped together Nazi collaborators, SS troops, and the Ukrainian military of today who are fighting against Russia. He lumped them together. This only confirms our thesis that one of our goals in Ukraine is denazification. On military spending, he said, "This is a completely healthy budget and a healthy economy. So it's not true to say that we spend too much on guns and forget about butter. All previously announced development plans, the achievement of strategic goals, and all social obligations assumed by the state for the population are today being fully implemented." On the budget, he said, "We are coping with financing the conflict, and I have reason to believe that we'll cope in the future. Ultimately, at the end of the year, we'll have a deficit somewhere around 1% of GDP. And for the coming years, 2024 to 2025, we expect that the deficit will be somewhere around 1% of GDP. So we have a stable, sustainable situation. We have overcome all the problems that arose after sanctions were imposed on us and begun the next stage of development on a new basis." On Western, in quote, arrogance, he said, "Western influence over the world is a giant Ponzi scheme. All the time we hear you have to, we are seriously warning you. Who are you anyway? What right do you have to warn someone? Maybe it's time you get rid of your arrogance. Stop behaving that way towards the world. It's time to drop this thinking from the era of colonial rule. That era is long over and will never return." On Russia's approach, he said, "We have always trying to offer solutions that take into account everyone's interests, but our interlocutors in the West seem to have completely forgotten that there are such concepts as reasonable self-restraint, compromises, readiness to give in something in order to achieve what is acceptable to everyone." On the war in Ukraine, this is second to the last. On the war in Ukraine, he said, "There's permanently increasing military and political pressure from the West. We have to respond. I have said many times that it was not us who started the war in Ukraine. On the contrary, we are trying to end it. Of course, that is debatable in the West. And the last one, on confrontation with the West, everyone realizes that in an international system where arbitrariness reigns, anyone can be under attack simply for the reason that this or that country was not liked by the hegemon, who has lost his sense of proportion. And I will add, his sense of reality. Unfortunately, we have to admit that our counterparties in the West have lost their sense of reality. Adherence to bloc approaches, the desire to drive the world into a situation of constant confrontation between us versus them, is a vicious legacy of the 20th century. It is a product of Western political culture. The West always needs an enemy. I think that's where I'll stop with it.
Thank you very much. So we had that because we are on News Echoes World Affairs today, the 6th of October, 2023. And thank you very much for that summary of that Valde meeting. I was trying to get some info too, but it went too fast. Thank you. So talking on some other issues, gentlemen, also right in our country, Nnamdi Kanu, the IPOB leader, the Supreme Court has fixed December the 15th for judgment on him again. A 5-man member panel led by one Justice Kudirat fixed that counsel for both the federal government and the detained IPOB leader. What will you guys say? I mean, holding on to this man, even though holding on to him after all that he has gone through, all the court has said, is ridiculous. Is it not, George? What do you say about this whole thing again?
I think it's quite clear that he's been ordered to be released by the court, and yet he's still being held. That tells you the shambolic nature of our judicial system, whereby a man can be ordered to do something and they refuse to do it because of their position, but another one would be released by the court and then still being held behind bars because of their, because of the way they think about them. So it's so sad. It's so sad that Nigeria judicial system have no ground whatsoever to stand, because people do what they want, and everybody has cast off restraint, and a group of people are being marginalized to the point. Let me just say this quickly before I allow Dr. Ibe to add his own comment on this. The truth of the matter is, yes, indeed, they have picked him up and they locked him up, and up until today, a court said that he should be released. Why are they going back again? This is double jeopardy, if you ask me. Why are they going back again to talk about whether he should be there or should not be there? A court has already ordered that he should be released. And then we're still going rigmaroling into the whole entire judicial system. This is just nothing but a play. It's like a juvenile hogwash, if you ask me.
Juvenile hogwash, Dr.
That's
Ibe.
what it is.
Yes,
the judicial system of Nigeria.
The 5-man team says they will be hearing the whole council, and on the other side is Mike Uzokume, the IPOB counsel. He's also coming to present his appeal, and we're going through the whole thing all over again. Yeah, Dr. Ibe, how do you see this? IPOB, indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, and the detention even after the court has said he can go. What will you say about this, Dr. Godwin?
Well, of course, I support his release. I think he should be released, a political prisoner. I think that especially if the court has ordered his release on bail, he should be truly released. But this system of political imprisonment, it's not only a Nigerian thing, it's everywhere. We have Julius Assange rotting in jail. I also call on the British authorities to please release him. We have people from the January 6th in the US who are imprisoned for 20-something years for something. They didn't kill anybody or anything. I call on them to also release.
They didn't
Yeah,
use
I'm saying, yeah, I understand. I'm saying, yeah, I understand. I understand. I'm speaking about not everyone who was in prison for 21 years killed somebody. I'm being specific about. I mean that some were imprisoned for much more than what their offense would be. Basically, especially when any case has a political nature, you know, there have to be a little bit reduction of politicization. And I'm saying this so that people don't think that it's only in Nigeria that we have political imprisonment. Yes,
even in Russia.
even in Russia, everywhere,
I mean, there are
everywhere.
quite
Yes,
a
it's a
number of
fact.
them there.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Yes.
Everywhere,
Gentlemen,
everywhere.
thank you very much. So we're taking the news bit by bit as it's happening. You know, a lot of things flow in during the week. Something that really stopped me I want us to look into. It's a common trend in Nigeria. It's a criminal activity. There's something they call one chance. One chance. One chance is where a passenger gets into a vehicle, a taxi or a bus, and somehow you're the only person that's the passenger. The other people are all armed robbers and criminals, you know. And when you come in, you won't know this. This is the story I had. And they will rip you off all your belongings, take your things, blah, 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 and push you out of the vehicle while it's still running. One chance. So last week we had a one chance victim. Greatness is her name. Oluran Femi. She was a victim of one chance. They threw her out. They stabbed her and threw her out of the vehicle. And somehow, some good Samaritan were able to take her to a facility, a health facility. Now, the story there was that the doctors, the hospital needed a police report. And while waiting for police reports in that process, this young lady died. It hurts me. Gentlemen, have you heard of one chance? Do you know this story? Have you encountered this or somebody
Yes.
you know? Please let us hear this. Now,
yes,
it's
of course. Yeah.
but we have very short time. What we're looking at is Nigerian police and the hospitals. Why will you need a permit from the police in an emergency like that? And now this young girl is dead. And I had that many people go through this. Many people are rushed to the hospital and they'll say, no, if no police report, we're not touching you, da. And I mean, how long do we keep going through this, losing people, losing children, mothers, fathers, and our citizens? Yes.
Unfortunately, as a medical doctor, I would like you to comment, but I want to just say the same thing because my sister rushed home one day and found my mom not breathing, you know, in a comatose condition because of her blood sugar, and rushed her to 3 hospitals, and they refused to treat her because she didn't have any cash money with her. It was an emergency. By the time she was taken to Port Harcourt General Hospital, she was dead. But if they had actually treated her, it's possible that my mom would be alive today. So this is what you're seeing in our country. When you go to North America, they don't think about you bringing money, or they will treat you to make sure that you stay alive. But in Nigeria, it is not the same. So Dr. Ibe, please, because it seems like the training you guys have in the mentality of your profession in North America or some of these developed countries is quite different from what we see in Nigeria. Money is the only thing that speaks in that country. If you don't have it, you're done.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to add that the system of requiring a police report is so idiotic. I don't know who came up with that, but that person, you know, I hope that those people who came up with this policy actually face justice, because their policy is criminal in nature. Now, I understand that it was done so that thieves or armed robbers who commit crime and have gunshot wounds actually report to the police and are not treated. Now, even an armed robber who committed a crime and received a gunshot doesn't mean that he's no more. He doesn't have human rights anymore. His life shouldn't be saved and shouldn't face justice. So it's really idiotic. Also, we need universal medical care, like the case of Sir George, mom, may her soul rest in peace. Without universal medical care, we can't receive that primary health care, especially for people who can afford it. In Russia, for example, even if you're an illegal, you're here illegally. If you call the ambulance will treat you. If there's an operation, they'll perform it immediately before they talk about whether you are legally here or not. And this is Russia.
Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. Sorry, as you know, we wish we could go all the way, but our time is up, and the network is blinging, telling me our time is up. So I want to thank you for coming on this Friday Global News Update, SSM. Viewers, thank you for tuning in. George, keep looking out from your corner what's happening there. Wednesday, we'll be coming back with some real-time updates. And Russia also, Dr. Godwin, look up from your corner what will be the news updates. So on this note, I say, guys, have a beautiful weekend. See you next week. And God bless you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.